Hi, friends. Welcome back to August, where we are redefining buzz terms and celebrating who we are on this journey. I'm so excited that you're here with me. I am Chris Greer. I am the host of the Grounding Journey podcast and creator of the My Happy Life monthly subscription box, a box all about redefining self care for yourself, teaching you how to take care of yourself, put yourself first, and love yourself. So, if you're interested in learning more and having a cohort and guide and partner in the journey, I welcome you to check out my Happy Life monthly subscription box. So, today's episode, we are talking all about self care. We're redefining it and maybe for the first time, actually defining it for yourself. Welcome to the Grounding Journey podcast. The kind of conversations that you'll find here are about life's journey. I'll share, along with my guest, about how we've explored and expanded our life through lessons learned, mistakes, mindful actions, and most importantly, how we've celebrated the journey. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Self-care. Does the mere mention of it make you kind of cringe and think, I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't have this, I don't have that, I can't? Well, that's what we're talking about today is the different definitions of self-care, how it's been misunderstood, and what self-care really is in today's day. So self-care, as defined by the coaching program I went through, Girls Gone Strong, is self-care means taking care of your body, mind, and spirit in a way that aligns with and honors your best self. Self-care, defined by Google, is the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, and particularly times during stress. One step further, the World Health Organization defines self-care as the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and cope with illness and disabilities with or without the support of a health worker. Nowhere does anyone mention spoiling yourself, feeling guilty, not having time for it. And so I sat down and made a list of what self-care is and what self-care isn't. Because as we're working through defining it, we're also breaking those limiting beliefs and those preconceived notions of what self-care is and what self-care isn't. So I think if we really jump into defining what self-care really is, that may help you hear the rest of the conversation. So self-care is eating plenty of vegetables, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, going for a walk, going for your annual checkups, taking your supplements or prescribed medication to support your health, talking with your therapist or your BFF, doing resistance training, meditating, moving your body regularly. And this is my favorite part of self-care, having fun, engaging in personal development, nurturing yourself, nurturing social connections, and the most vital, loving yourself. And so remember, we talked last episode about self-love. So these two really go hand in hand because when you see your own self-love and when you love yourself, it's a whole lot easier to do self-care. And that's why I put those two episodes in the order I did, because I think it's hard to do self-care when you don't recognize that you do actually love yourself. So to me, what self-care is not is self-care is not a privilege. Self-care is not something to feel guilty for. Self-care is not selfish or indulgent. Self-care is not a waste of time. Self-care is not only for people who've lots of free time or that have earned it. Self-care is not only about pampering or a luxury. Self-care is not something that requires spending money. Self-care is not dependent on the approval of others. Self-care is not ignoring your problems. Although sometimes a little bit of self-care may be delaying the worry of your problems. Self care is not neglecting others. Self care is not ignoring your needs for others. Self care is not about being perfect. Self care is definitely not a trend to follow. And self care is not a one time event, it's an ongoing practice. Now, as women, partners, mothers, children of aging adults, brothers, sisters, humans, we got into the mindset that we have to take care of everybody first. And not taking care of ourselves was not a priority. Like, we didn't know how to self prioritize. And so I do think that when I say self care is not a trend to follow, we are trending more to being aware and realizing that we need to take more self care of ourselves and what self care really is. Now, I know I've told this story before. Maybe you've heard it, maybe you haven't. But when I talk about self care, this was a real moment that stuck out to me. I was really interested in. So, the teacher who was teaching us did some Reiki on me, trying to help me get rid of my headache. And I'm pretty sure I was pretty resistant to letting the headache go. I was so stressed out. It was hard at that point because I did have a toddler. I had a husband who was not supportive. I had a husband who did not enjoy me taking care and doing things that I wanted to do. So I'm sure it was a stress induced headache. And so my teacher and I started talking. And I remember her saying, "You can't be 100% of the time." Now, I was flat out appalled by that. I didn't know how to tell her that, but I was really like offended. And thankfully, it was the end afternoon Sunday. So it had been kind of, I didn't have to sit there for another day with her. But I really just kept thinking, she doesn't understand. She didn't have kids. She was older. Her husband had a successful business that really gave her the space to do what she loved. As I mentioned, I was a mom of a toddler. My husband was less than helpful. I worked full time. I was in my early mid 20s. And I just thought, how can she say, I need to do more for me? My kiddo is 3. He needs all my attention. Now, fast forward many years because I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. I didn't grasp it for a long time. But what she was really trying to tell me and didn't use the right words for me necessarily to understand was, I see you. I know it's hard. It's only going to get harder if you keep ignoring your own needs for yourself. And I kind of think I would have heard her maybe had she said something like, "Do you think you could start with 10 minutes a couple times a week doing something you enjoy that relaxes you, that's just for you? Maybe after Kevin goes to bed or when he's at your parents' house instead of cleaning house." But that wasn't what she said. And she didn't offer me any compassion. She just kind of told me. So I'm here to offer you compassion. My role along the way is to help you identify realistic and doable options that you can create, add into your life, incorporate into your days with ease. So I say to you, I see you, and know how intense it can feel and what overwhelm feels like sometimes. I get it. You're not alone. What I do ask you is, are you ready? Are you willing to start putting yourself first so that you can be fully present for your loved ones? Because had she asked me then, I would have said, I don't know what that means. What do you mean, am I ready to start putting myself first? I can't. I would still have had that resistance because remember, I was probably 27, 26, 27, kind of that age. No, it was like 27, 28. So I still had a lot of energy. I still had a lot of growing, and I hadn't learned what I needed to about how I'm important too. And so I want you to know that you're important, that defining self care and practicing self care is an investment in your future self. So, as you are working to rediscover yourself, to decide what's next in life, to connect with your future self, remember that self care is supporting your future self, that you can't be 100% of the time. And while I loved being a mom of a 4-year-old, Kevin still knows that was my favorite time. And raising him was when he was 4. Had I taken that 10 minutes, 3 nights a week to sit on the bed and read instead of just watching TV, had I once a week taken a bath while he was at my parents' or done little things for me, I think it would have improved the experience. So even though I gave him everything I could of myself, as we do with our children, as we do with our work, as we do with our animals, I relate it to being a mom, but we also do it when we're caring for our elder parents, when we're taking care of our spouse, when we're a partner in a relationship. Had I done a little bit more for me, I think I would have been able to enjoy the experience more because I wouldn't have been tired. I wouldn't have, when he did go to bed, just zone out. I also think I probably would have started my self growth a little more proactively had I had that energy. So, those are all the things that I want you to think about in your self care. The next time you hear the words, are you practicing self care? What are you doing for yourself? Remember, you can't be 100% of the time. It's okay to take care of yourself because self care is not another ball to throw into your juggling mix. Self care is not an emergency procedure, it's a part of your daily life. And I don't want you to think, I have to start meditating 30 minutes every day this week because that's not doable. That's going to get you up against a lot of resistance. But where can you take 5 or 10 minutes 3 times a week and incorporate that into your lifestyle? And then when that feels really good, bump it up to 20 minutes or bump it up to 5 days a week instead of 20 minutes. Feel what's doable for you. As we're talking about self care, if you do have a small business that you're running and your evenings are what you're doing because you work full time, if you're taking care of your elder parents, if you still have children at home, who can you ask for help? And what can you ask them to do? Can you ask your partner to handle bedtime 2 times a week so you have a little bit more space? Can you do a food prep service with your elder parents so that you don't have to make dinner 2 nights a week so you have a little more space? Can you hire a bookkeeper or get an intern to help you with some stuff with your business so that you free up a little bit more space in your time? Self-care really is supposed to be about relieving stress, not adding to it. So asking for help. And I know, asking for help, that's a big one. I struggled with that one, especially because when Matthew and I married, Kevin was mine and we had not fully defined that. So Kevin was my responsibility. I handled it. I was still a 30-something stubborn, trying to prove something to the world. And learning to ask for help was a hard journey and it was liberating. Maybe I need to do a whole podcast about redefining asking for help because I could definitely go off on a tangent with that one. So back to self-care and how you can incorporate it. Let me give you a few suggestions of what self care can look like. Self care can be taking 10 minutes 3 times a week to sit on your bed in quiet and journal. Self care can be sitting in your car in the driveway, taking 5 deep breaths before you get out and go into your house to help your spouse, your partners, your family. Because deep breathing is going to lower your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. It's going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. So it gives you that time to leave your day behind and focus on your family. So as I say, you can't be 100% of the time. That 1 minute that it takes you to take 5 deep breaths before you go inside can reset your whole nervous system and allow you to be more present. See how easy self care can really be? So you start with those 5 deep breaths every time you get out of the car. And if you work from home, like I smudge myself when I'm done with the day before I walk out of my office, so that's my deep breath. That's my reset. Um, so you can find those little things that take less than a minute. And once you've gotten comfortable with them, you extend to, can I meditate 15 minutes before I get out of bed? And that's just listening to a quick guided meditation that helps you get your mindset. Can you turn the TV off 30 minutes earlier and go to bed and read or listen to some calming music? Guess what? That's self care. How can you eliminate stress? That's self care. Can you pack everybody's lunch, your lunch, and set the coffee maker the night before so that you have more ease in the morning? Guess what? That's self care. It's all those little steps that lower your stress, that pay attention to your nervous system, that support you. And by taking those deep breaths in the car, by setting your coffee maker the night before, you are investing in your future self because it's your tomorrow. There's so many other ways that you could do self care. And I have a special little self care quiz that if you want to check it out, I'll put the link in the show notes. It's just groundingjourney.com/self care. And it's going to kind of give you an idea where you fall on the self care spectrum. Are you a rock star or are you looking for some tips to support you? So I recommend go to groundingjourney.com/self care, take the quiz. It's going to give you a lot more options for helping yourself because it's going to help you know where you are in the spectrum. And yeah, I've also got a special 5, 10, 15, and 20-minute meditation that you'll get along with that to help you and support you with your self care. The 5-minute breath practice to the 20-minute rediscovering yourself. So I'm going to leave you today with a couple questions to think about. What things can you do today that your future self will thank you for? What's one step you can take today or this week to support your future self? Now, remember, the goal is not to make yourself miserable trying to attain your vision. If you do make yourself miserable, you'll either quit, you'll not feel fulfilled when you get there, or you may never arrive at your vision. So the goal is with self care to take some steps, tiny ones, middle sized ones, leaps and bounds, whatever it is, changes from day to day. Taking those small steps, the regular steps that move you in a forward direction that you want to go in. As I said, some days you'll take leaps and bounds, other weeks you'll take teeny tiny little steps. It's all movement forward when you stay in alignment with your future self and take care of your current self. So I hope that listening today has helped you redefine self-care. I hope that it's given you some ideas and it's helped you shed some guilt and realize the importance of self care. Thank you for spending time with me today. I would love if you would subscribe on your app wherever you are. If you found my blog, then at the bottom of the blog, you can subscribe and find out about all of our podcasts and notifications. If you're on Apple, please leave a review. Let me know what you think of the podcast so that I can continue showing up and giving you what is best for you. Thank you so much, friend, for being a part of my journey. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of yours.